We all thought that 2020 was an important and pivotal year in our nation, but 2021 is just an extension of 2020. With the upcoming wave of elections, the new leaderships will determine the course as we navigate through the pandemic with the reopening of the economy and also through the turbulent climate facing our communities, especially major cities like New York City. So here at live1.tv, we are seeking to keep our viewers informed. Hello, I'm Tara Szczepanski, your program host for The Capitol at live1.tv. And now I'm joined by NYC Mayor Candidate Fernando Mateo. Hello.
How are you?
Very good. Thank you so much for joining us in the studio.
Sure. Thank you for having me.
Could you give us a background for our viewers?
Well, my name's Fernando Mateo. I'm an urban Republican. Basically grew up in New York City my entire life. And for the last 30 years, I've spent a lot of time giving back to my community. I've spent 30 years of my life working to make our different communities better. In 1989, I started a program called the MIT program at Rikers Island, or Mateo Institute of Training, where we were able to teach, train, and find employment for first-time nonviolent offenders. It was probably the best program the jail system has ever had anywhere in this country. Kids were coming out and not going back to jail. They were coming out as electricians, plumbers, carpet layers. They came out with a skill. In 1993, I did Toys for Guns. Toys for Guns was a program that took thousands of guns off the city streets. And no one's ever done that in the history of New York City. The program was so good it went viral, it went worldwide, and it was amazing. Brought us a lot of peace and tranquility after the Dinkins administration. In 1999, we formed the New York State Federation of Taxi Drivers. And I've been able to save thousands of lives. Cab drivers were being killed 1 or 2 a week for many, many years. And we were able to bring Mayor Giuliani, Governor Pataki, and the police department together and create a formula that would save people's lives, drivers' lives. And in 2002, we organized the United Bodegas Association, which today it's called the United Bodegas of America. And we were able to do the same for the bodega owners. But it didn't start there. It started when I was 14 years old, and I dropped out of school. I was a victim of the New York City public school system. They let me down. I dropped out, I went to vocational training school, and I learned how to lay floors. At 17, I was married, and I had my own carpet store. But something miraculously happened to me when I dropped out of school. I was adopted by a Jewish family who taught me the values of hard work, taught me the values of having integrity, taught me not to fear anyone and to be the best at what I do. And they basically formed me at a young age to be who I am today. That's why in a Mateo the Mayor administration, we will put a lot of emphasis on our kids, 14 to 18 years old. If you can't form the children of New York City at that age, you've lost them, or you've lost a lot of them. I found that if you give kids an opportunity to work after school, they're going to do well and they're going to excel in whatever they do. They're going to have something to look forward to other than hanging out in the projects or hanging out in the ghetto or hanging out with the wrong people. So every kid in New York City, when I am mayor, will have the opportunity to work, whether it's in corporate America, whether it's in city agencies that we control, whether it's in small businesses. And we're going to give small businesses tax incentives so that they can hire these kids. We're going to give them tax incentives so that they can come back to New York, because a lot of the small businesses in New York have left. So there's a huge job ahead of us. And I know that the candidates that are running for mayor of New York City don't have the experience that I have. They have no business experience. They've never owned a business. They've never paid real estate taxes. They've never paid rent. They've never met payroll. So not having done all of those things makes it impossible for them to want to be the mayor of New York City or to govern New York City as mayor. Most of them are politicians, and lifelong politicians at that, meaning they've never really walked out of that box. They've never gotten out of that box. So they're politicians inside and out. With me, you're getting someone that knows how to run a business, that can bring businesses back. You're getting someone that has had the experience of what Rikers Island is all about, because I spent 3 years there teaching, training, and employing these kids. You have the experience of someone that had to drop out of school in order to succeed. And you have the experience of someone that was guided as a child to become very successful. Public safety is number one in my agenda. Protecting the men and women in blue, to me, is one of the most important things that my administration will accomplish. Bringing law and order back to New York City is first and foremost, because if we don't have public safety, we have no city. The city is over. No one wants to live in a city that's unsafe. And as you see and you hear every day in the news, every week there are 40, 50 shootings that go on. How do we curb that if we don't give the support to our men and women in blue so that they can take the city back? That's first and foremost. The economy, small businesses, and employment for youth is very important. After all of that comes the homeless situation, comes the housing situation. The city has a lot of situations that it needs to deal with, and it needs strong leadership. It needs a strong leader that can handle whatever comes up and make sure that we fix it. You certainly have a
very impressive resume, and I think one of the things that sets you apart is an interesting perspective that you lend to the role is that you're the first Hispanic immigrant running for office. What unique perspective do you feel you'll bring to the role from that background? You
see, being an immigrant in New York City, the needs of immigrants are very different than the needs of American citizens. We come here to this country to struggle, to work hard, to progress, and to open small businesses. If you look around the city, most small businesses are owned by immigrants. Yet we have never had an immigrant mayor. I will be the first immigrant mayor, the first immigrant Hispanic mayor. Maybe not the first immigrant mayor, because I know that there, way back when, there were immigrants from Ireland and Italy that came here and became mayor. But I will be the first immigrant Hispanic mayor in New York City, and we've already have made history. I am the first Hispanic immigrant to ever deliver 11,000 ballots to the Board of Elections. I am the first urban Republican to ever run for mayor of New York City. And although people say that, the media says that a Republican can't win in New York, they are dead wrong.
I was going to ask you about that. Like, what is the pathway to the mayor office being Republican?
It's what happened with Giuliani. It's what happened with Bloomberg. It's what happened with George Pataki. It's what happened with Donald Trump. Everyone said they couldn't win, and they won. Why? Because people are tired of the Democratic rhetoric. They're tired of politics as usual. Democrats have seen what the Democratic Party has done to our city. They're not dumb. They're going to vote for someone that they believe in. They're going to vote for someone that can create the changes that are necessary in New York. I always tell people, don't vote for a party. Vote for a person. The first question I would ask any candidate is, what have you done the last 30 years for New York? And if you put all those candidates in a blender and you blend them and you pour them out, they haven't done 10% of what Fernando Mateo has been able to do for New Yorkers. I have worked 30 years helping the most needed communities. And usually that's the Democratic communities. Why? Because Democrats don't take care of their own. They talk a lot. They preach a lot. They tell you what you want to hear. They tell you that they're going to give you everything so that you can vote for them. And at the end, they give you nothing. They deliver nothing. And this is why our city's in shambles. Mayor de Blasio single-handedly destroyed the hard work that Rudy Giuliani, George Pataki, and Michael Bloomberg did in the last 20 years.
I want to ask you about school choice. When you mentioned de Blasio, my first thought was, if you were to grade him, what grade would you give de Blasio?
He would have been expelled from school. Let me put it to you that way. There's no grade that can suit him. He would have been expelled, suspended. He has no leadership. No one respects the guy. The governor doesn't respect the mayor of the city.
That's certainly a problem.
And the mayor doesn't respect the governor of the state. And they're both Democrats. If you look at the last 10 years and you see what happened to Elliot Spitzer, what happened to Eric Schneiderman, what happened to Anthony Weiner, what happened to Sheldon Silver, what's happening to Andrew Cuomo, and what happened with Bill de Blasio, how much more of that do we want? How much more of that can we deal with? That's why I am asking people to think about who they're going to vote for, because we cannot have the same 8 years that we just had.
What are some of the, for the past 30 years that you've witnessed, what are some of the alarming trends that you're witnessing?
Right now, no law and order whatsoever. Crime has skyrocketed 200 to 300% higher than what it used to be. Our seniors being punched out in the street. The Asian community is under attack. The Jewish community is under attack. Everyone is under attack, and who's responsible for that? Who took away the power from our law enforcement officers so that they can't do their job? Who handcuffed them? The mayor did. I will refund our police department, not defund them. You don't play with people's lives. You don't defund a police department that protects the people of the city of New York. Listen, we have all faced abuse of power. I have faced abuse of power by certain police officers and certain city agencies. And guess what? I am not going to defund them because of what happened to me with a few bad cops. 99.9% of our police officers in our police department are good people. I will support them. I will give them everything they need to do their job and do it right. And I would bring a few thousand more cops onto the force. I will have police officers on every MTA platform throughout the city, 24/7.
When you talk about recruiting police officers for NYPD, it's when you have the concepts of like the George Floyd bill being passed through, which is going to end police immunity from civil suits and open them up largely to potentially frivolous lawsuits. And I would say that the police force has largely been demoralized because we have such brazen attacks happening on civilians and police today. How are we going to recruit and get top talent for our NYPD?
By letting our police officers and our police department know that they have leadership that will support them. We will seek change. We will make sure that our police officers are respected. It hurts me when I see someone spitting at a police officer, or dumping water on a police officer, or recording him and taunting a police officer, or accusing police officers of things that they haven't done. That is unacceptable. I will never tolerate that. I don't care what color you are. It doesn't matter who you are. If you do that, you will wind up in jail. And we need for our district attorneys and our judges to do their job. How is a police officer going to arrest someone that's carrying an illegal gun, and a few hours later that person's out back on the streets? How are you going to arrest someone that's carrying a knife or that has assaulted someone, hurt someone, and release him a few hours after he's been arrested? That is unacceptable. Bail reform needs to be reformed. It doesn't really apply to everyone. It applies to very few that commit very minute crimes, or misdemeanors, I should say, and can't afford a $200, $300 bail. You can make an exception. But you can't make an exception on a hardened criminal, on a guy that's got a record this long and that's carrying an illegal weapon out in the streets because he's going to shoot somebody, he's going to kill someone. You cannot free someone that just knocked out a senior in the street.
Absolutely.
Or attacked someone, or threw someone on the tracks. How do you release them? You know, what is this mayor thinking? What is our justice system thinking? Under my administration, that will not happen.
How can we also bridge the relationship between the community and the police? We see with the brazen attacks that are going on, it's clearly the community also has a lack of trust when it comes to police. They're shouting to defund the police almost on daily protests. How are we going to bridge that between the community and the police force?
That's a small group of people that don't understand the harm they are causing. By defunding the police, by being aggressive and disrespecting the police, that's why you have 50 shootings in 1 week. That's why the police doesn't want to get involved, because they don't want to lose their job. Right now, it's pitiful what's going on. I want our police officers to engage with every small business in their route. I want street patrols. I want cops on foot, getting to know the people of their community. If you came from Harlem, I want you to patrol the streets of Harlem. If you came from Astoria, I want you to patrol the streets of Astoria. Why? Because you know the people. You can engage with the people. There's a lot of things that you can do to create a bridge between the community and the police department. And I will do everything within my powers to make sure that I accomplish that.
Thank you, Fernando. I want to bring your attention to also, as turning topics to the recovery right now with just this month, we're going to be ending the curfews for restaurants and businesses. Do you feel like in the past several months, the restrictions that have been placed on our local businesses have been against the freedoms and of the people?
It's an overkill. Look at the states that are thriving and doing well, doing amazing during the pandemic. Look at Florida, for crying out loud. We have a governor there that is a leader, a governor that knows what he is doing, a governor that protected the people that needed to be protected initially and freed those that don't need that type of protection. Government should not be in our lives telling us what to do. Government needs to step aside. This isn't a communist country where you have a ruler and that ruler decides everything that goes on. This governor became a ruler, and this mayor became a ruler, and people are revolting against that. That's why we don't want to elect another Democrat, because they don't have the courage, they don't have the cahoots to really make decisions that could be unpopular to some people. I'm not going to be everything to everyone, and I know that. But for sure, I would have protected our seniors. I would have protected people with underlying conditions. I would have protected those that in nursing homes. But I'm not worried about kids going to school. The schools should have never been closed. The mayor allowed for the union representative, the UFT, to dictate how and when the schools are going to open. Now, who's leading the city? Is it the UFT or is it the mayor? Who is basically going to free us? You know, unfortunately, a lot of small businesses lost the right to do business in New York. Mm-hmm. Thousands of businesses, their licenses were taken away, and some of them simply just gave up and closed down and left. We have to rebuild.
How are we going to rebuild and encourage small businesses to be opening up back in an economy where things still look very dreary? Like, why would anybody want to open up at this time?
Well, first of all, public safety. Once public safety is in line, mm-hmm. people will start going out. Right now, people are afraid. We need to get our arts and culture centers open. We need to get the theater district open. We need to allow the Broadway plays to start rolling, and for theaters to open, and for restaurants to open, not a month from now, but today. Our level of coronavirus contamination or spread is at 1%. Come on, wake up.
Some
What are you
common
waiting
sense.
for? Common sense. What are you waiting for? I mean, it's ridiculous. But hopefully, by the time I'm mayor, this will be behind us. Our city will be thriving, and my job is going to have to be public safety, bringing our economy back, bringing our small businesses back, and I know how to do that because that's what I do.
What are your ideas for job creation?
First of all, you give tax incentives. Like they were giving Amazon when they were coming here to Queens. They were bringing 25,000 jobs. They were getting $3 billion worth of payroll tax relief over 30 years. That was great. But you know what? I would take those same tax credits or tax breaks and give them to 50,000 small businesses. Why? Because they will be able to employ people and get a tax break at the same time. We won't create 25,000 jobs. We'll create 500,000 jobs. And that's what we need to focus on, is how do we encourage people to come back? You know how you do that? By having a city that's friendly to small business. Right now, every city agency, the building department, my God, what a waste. The health department, consumer affairs, you name every city agency and they are small businesses' worst enemies. Rather than helping us open quickly by issuing temporary certificates of authority if you're just renovating a sandwich shop or a restaurant or anything that doesn't require structural engineering, you should be able to give them permits to execute the renovation and get it done. You should allow contractors to self-certify their work so that they can pass and that business can get open. It takes a year to get through the process of you paying rent while renovating in order for you to get permits to open a business. Every city inspector that walks into your business doesn't know the sacrifice, the loans that you've taken, the investment you've made of borrowing and investing your whole life savings. And with a strike of a pen, they can shut you down. I will not allow any city agency to abuse their power to shut any business down in New York City. It's unacceptable, and it will stop when I am mayor, because I've been through the consequences. I know what it is to get an inspector to come into my restaurant at 9 o'clock at night on a Friday night or a Saturday night when we're full to do an inspection. What happened to 8 to 4 or 8 to 5? You can do the same inspection during the off time, allowing you to correct whatever minor problem you may have and not shatter your business when you're trying to survive and create jobs. You know, risk takers right now are the enemies of New York City, and we have no leadership to change that. I'm the guy that can change it because I'm the guy that's in business, like most small businesses, most small people that invest in a small business.
Thank you. I'm thinking back to a point that you made earlier that has to do with like the homeless population in New York City. How do we address the homeless situation, and then also how do we create affordable housing for everyone?
First thing you do is you don't place homeless people in communities that they are not wanted. And you don't allow and you don't put the pressure on communities to accept people that they don't want, because then you're putting people at odds, okay? No one wants a homeless shelter in their community. Nobody. So what do? The city has huge industrial parks in every borough. You can go into these industrial parks, buy land, build housing with mental health facilities, food banks, parks and recreation, and you bring mass transit right to them, so that those that are homeless, that have a job, can get to work. Homeless people are not bad people. Homeless people are unfortunate people. Some of them have children. There's a lot of homeless children that need to get to school. We need to provide common sense solutions to big problems. And right now, all we know is that de Blasio's wife got $1 billion, and no one knows what happened to that $1 billion. No one knows where it went, and I will investigate it when I am mayor. I will hold every elected official feet to the fire. If anything like what happened with Charlene McRae should happen with any other agency, it's unacceptable. We need accountability. We need to know where that money went. And I'm sure every New Yorker wants to know that as well. But you build housing for them out of the way. Mm-hmm. Don't place them in areas that they're going to feel uncomfortable. It's not fair to the community, and it's not fair to the homeless.
I think, because I have a close friend of mine that left the city. She'd been living in the Upper East Side for a long time, and when de Blasio had put the homeless population into the Upper West Side in the hotels,
yes,
it made the environment very unstable, uncomfortable. She could smell drugs and see it just by walking outside. What do you think was going through his mind to put it up on the Upper West Side, and how is that possibly a solution?
He just doesn't know what to do. He has no clue. He basically dances to the tune of the media. When the media attacks him in one area, he tries to fix it immediately so that he looks like if he did something about it. But every decision that he has made is the wrong decision. Bill de Blasio needs to be held accountable when he leaves office, and I will hold him accountable.
Thinking back to school choice, how you're a self-made man and had a upward climb to make you who you are today, especially with your experience then from school to starting your own business. What is your idea when it comes to school choice and our students?
I believe that every parent has the right to decide what school their children should go to. I believe in the voucher system. If you want your child to go to public school, send them to public school. If you want them to go to charter school, Catholic school, private school, whatever school you believe your child should be going to, you should have a voucher to do that. Our public school system has failed because there's, once again, no leadership, no accountability. The city has given up on the public school system. And it's a very clear, the city has sent a very clear message that they don't have this under control. The unions do. And that's why I don't want the UFT's endorsement. I wouldn't accept it. Why? Because I don't want to be the person that does what they want me to do. I'm going to do what's right for the people, what's right for the kids, and what's right for the parents.
You're a man that strikes me of the embodiment of the American dream. What is your definition of the American dream, and do you feel that are there differences to that definition amongst what we see with society today?
The American dream could be numerous things. It could be personal success. And most people refer to as the American dream as personal success. Well, I've got to tell you that I've been very successful in my life. And I've achieved what you would want to call the personal American dream. But I am far from achieving the American dream in that I want to see everyone in New York City, with the city that I love and the city that I know, succeed along with me. So the American dream is when you can see your environment, your communities succeeding with you. Succeeding alone could be very lonely. It's like having a yacht and being the only passenger and having no friends to join you. So I consider the American dream a work in progress, something that I will achieve down the road.
Thank you. If we were to just have a casual day around the city, tourism has plummeted in New York City. Where would we go? What would you show me around the city?
Right now, there's very little to show because the city looks like a shanty town. Mm-hmm. The city is filthy. It's dirty. It's got graffiti everywhere. We went back 20, 30 years. New York City has a rat infestation like no other city. We have 40 million rats in New York, 8 for every human being. Why can't we take care of that problem? You go to a park, you can get robbed, you can get assaulted. Mm-hmm. You go, I mean, there's really nothing to show off in New York today. But wait until I am mayor. we are going to shine again. That this apple, everyone's going to want a bite of New York City, a bite of the Big Apple. I promise you, because we are the capital of the world. We are the financial capital of the world. And I had two choices: move to Florida or stay in New York and run for mayor and change the destiny of our city. And that's what I decided to do. I am not an angry person. I'm a passionate person. I believe in what I say and I believe in what I do. And I'm hoping that New Yorkers will see that and will vote for me. I don't want New Yorkers to vote for me because I'm a Republican or a Democrat. I want them to vote for me because I am the best candidate to do the job. And I speak to you in blue collar language because I am a blue collar worker. That's who I am, that's what I do. And that's who Fernando Mateo is.
Fernando, thank you so much for joining us in studio today. Do you have any final closing remarks for our viewers?
I think I've left it all here. I think that anything else that I can say probably won't be very nice because it will be very critical of the people that ruined our city, of the people that took away the quality of life that we enjoyed for 20 years, that took away the rights of our police, of our men in blue and women in blue, that handcuffed them and told them, don't do your job because if you do, you will get fired. Let's fix New York City. That's all I can say. And go to MateoTheMayor.com and chip in. Support my candidacy. And certainly once I get through the primaries, if you're a Republican, go out and vote for the primaries. I need to be elected. I need to be the candidate for the Republican Party, and that will only happen if you come out and vote for me.
The NYC primaries are June 22nd, 2021. Fernando, thank you so much for joining us in studio. And again, I'm Tara Szczepanski, and this is the program, The Capital on Live1.tv. We hope that this will help our viewers from New York City to stay informed and to make the right decision in the upcoming elections.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.